We are live. We are live. It's me, Dr. Frita. Come on in here and like and subscribe because we have a great show for you today. Welcome to Medical Monday, where we talk about all the hot health topics in the news and we educate ourselves so we can live our healthiest, happiest lives. Today, we are going to talk about your favorite pop star, Justin Timberlake. We all know that he was arrested and charged with driving while intoxicated. What we'll talk about is how alcohol affects the brain, how it affects the speech, the balance, the impulse control, the judgment, and the risks you take when you get behind the wheel when intoxicated instead of taking a Lyft or an Uber. We can all learn from this. And then we'll talk about Simone Biles. You know that's everybody's favorite gymnast. Well, she caught heck, remember, in 2020 when she pulled out of the Tokyo Olympics due to mental health issues and due to having the twisties. People talked about her like a junkyard dog. They said that she was the greatest quitter of all time, all of that nonsense. But guess what? She is back and better than ever, and she is sharing her struggles with mental health. So we'll touch on that, her struggles with mental health, and warning signs for all of us to be aware of when it comes to mental health, depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder. And then Celine Dion. Is there any better song than the Titanic? Is there any bigger voice? Okay, there's lots of big voices, but I love me some Celine Dion. We'll talk about her health struggles and how she's coming forward about her stiff person's disease. Have y'all heard of stiff person's disease? Had you heard of it before Celine Dion? Don't worry about it. We'll talk all about it. And then, of course, my favorite part, the live Q&A. You can ask me questions on any of our topics. Plus, of course, you can always ask me kidney questions and questions related to blood pressure. So please like this video, share this video, tell a friend to tell a friend, and come on back as we get into these hot health topics. All right, let's go. We're live. I'm Dr. Frita. I can't wait to talk to you about all of these hot health topics, but you know I don't do it alone. I'd like to invite my co-host and my practice manager to the stage. Come on up, Shador. Let's get into this medicine on this Monday. How are you doing, Shador?
Doing pretty good. How are you doing?
I am doing well, Shador. You've been my practice manager for over a decade, over 12 years. And I know that as people watch this, so I think you normally have your hair pulled back. They probably assume you went and got yourself a good old lace front. But y'all, trust me, you know they think it. Y'all, every little piece of this is Shador's hair. And Shador, I just want to know, how long did it take you to untwist your hair and get through it? I have to know that before we get
it didn't take long. I'm a pro at this point, so maybe 15, 20 minutes.
Okay, and were you able to convince anyone in the house to help you with your hair? Mm-hmm. They don't treat you right. They run from that old thick hair. It's so pretty. All right. Well, Shador, let's talk about some of these hot health topics in the headline, shall we?
Yes,
let's start with Justin Timberlake. I'll tell y'all right now, I am a Justin Timberlake fan. In fact, one of my line sisters was talking. We were supposed to be seeing him when he comes to Atlanta. Honey, cry me a river. That man can dance. I've liked him ever since NSYNC, since all of his different things he's gone through with Britney Spears. And now the Janet Jackson. He had me giving him the side eye on the Janet Jackson now because I'm a Janet Jackson's up there now. She's number one. But I still like Justin Timberlake. Well, we know that this past week he was arrested and charged with a DWI, driving while intoxicated. And he, Sorry about that. We've got a whole lot going on. He was arrested and apparently went through a stop sign, all those things. And now, you know, he's got the stain on what was pretty much a clean, squeaky clean reputation. So let's play the clip. Let's talk about Justin Timberlake, and then we'll talk about how alcohol affects the brain. All right, let's look at it here.
Justin Timberlake, he spoke about his DWI arrest for the first time. DeMarco Morgan here now with the details. Good morning, DeMarco.
George, good morning to you. The Grammy-winning star, also known as the Prince of Pop, having a heart-to-heart with his fans while performing in Chicago. It was his first concert since his arrest.
It's been a tough week.
Justin Timberlake back on stage and breaking his silence after being arrested, accused by police of getting behind the wheel while intoxicated in the Hamptons.
I know sometimes I'm hard to love, but you keep on loving me and I love you. We've been together through ups and downs.
The pop star speaking out to fans in Chicago just days after being charged with a misdemeanor DWI.
New York has strict laws about driving under the influence, so he could be facing a potential loss of his license.
It was last Tuesday that surveillance video captured what appears to be Timberlake's gray BMW just moments before Sag Harbor police say he failed to stop at a stop sign. Investigators say Timberlake told one of their officers, "I had one martini," but they observed his eyes were bloodshot and glassy and that a strong odor of an alcoholic beverage was emanating from his breath. This photo from dailymail.com showing him handcuffed before he was released by a judge on his own recognizance. The singer, no stranger to controversy. 3 years ago, he apologized after receiving renewed backlash for how he handled the 2004 Super Bowl halftime show wardrobe malfunction involving Janet Jackson. He also publicly offered support for the end of Britney Spears' conservatorship after the singer wrote about their highly publicized breakup in her memoir. Spears' 2011 song titled Criminal seen a spike in streams following Timberlake's arrest.
Oh boy, Justin Timberlake. So yeah. So I'm going to talk to you about how alcohol affects the brain. But before I do, Shador, who was the first person in the chat today?
Yes, ma'am. First person in the chat today comes from Mr. Alfred.
Hi, Mr. Alfred. Welcome.
That's how you're doing. Good.
Good. All right. Well, as y'all listen, please make sure you like and you share. That's a free way to support the channel because we're giving evidence-based medicine today. So we'll talk about how alcohol affects the brain. But then here's what I'd like you to put in the chat, please. Reportedly, some of Justin Timberlake's friends, reportedly, were asking the policeman to give him a break, because he's a big superstar, doesn't really get in much trouble. Please put a 1 if you think they should have given him a break and let him go on a first offense, or 2 if they did the right thing by holding him accountable for the DWI charge. 1 if they should let him go. 2 if they did the right thing and by holding him accountable. Okay, so Justin Timberlake. They said that he ran through a stop sign, swerved a lane, bloodshot eyes, and failed his sobriety test. He did not take a blood alcohol level test, reportedly, but had he taken one and had that number been 0.08, that is the legal limit for driving. So let's talk about alcohol. Like, who cares about alcohol? A lot of people care about alcohol because it is a very common preventable cause of death here in the United States. And I mean, it causes so many deaths. And here's the thing about alcohol. It can throw your judgment off. So even if you're someone who has high intelligence, you have good judgment, the alcohol will disrupt centers in your brain to make you make poor decisions. So here's how it works. For one thing that it does early on in the intoxication, it causes a euphoria. And it does that by causing a dopamine release and serotonin release. And so it gives you a pleasure, a relaxation, an increased confidence. Okay. Some people call that, when you're just kind of tipsy or when you're feeling nice, as they call it. That's early on. Okay. And so, pleasure, increased confidence, euphoria. Who doesn't want to feel that? Okay. But it can come with the cost because as the alcohol level continues to increase in your body, it can affect your cerebellum. And that's the portion of the brain that helps to control your balance. That's why you'll see a lot of people who are intoxicated kind of have like some stumbling going on, right? They'll have some stumbling. It can also affect your fine motor skills. So you might have someone who can't zip up their pants properly, or they can't button properly, okay, as the alcohol levels continue to rise, okay? Shador, so far, do we have any 1s for they did the right thing, or that 1s they should have let them go, 2 they did the right thing?
So we definitely don't have any 1s. The first few in with 2s, yes.
But he's a celebrity. Can y'all imagine his friends?
I've actually read he actually got away with a warning, and the same cop caught him around the block.
Wow. That's interesting. All right. Allegedly. Let's put our banner up. That's really interesting. So pretty much everybody on here, all the med heads are like, hold them accountable. If you hold Devontae accountable, if you'll hold LaQuisha accountable, if you hold Jimmy John, Auntie May, if you hold them accountable, hold him accountable. Okay. Liberty and justice for all. Hold them accountable. All right. All right. Those are the 2s. Okay. So the other thing, as we talk more about how alcohol affects the brain, this is the other thing I want you all to do in the chat. We'll talk about the brain first, but then I want you to list other organs that alcohol overuse can affect. So talk about some of the other health issues that alcohol overuse can affect, and then I'll elaborate as you put them in the chat. Okay. All right. So it can cause the euphoria at first. You feel good. You have increased confidence. It can affect the cerebellum. Balance is off. You're stumbling, poor fine motor skills, and it can affect your impulse control. Right? So things that you normally wouldn't do, that you would use some social reservation for, impulse can be gone, right? So that might make you strip, that might make you skinny dip if that's not something that you normally would do. That might make you say, hey, you know what? Let's drag race, let's go. Instead of controlling that impulse, it might make you go and do something inappropriate toward, someone to whom you're romantically attracted. Instead of holding back, you might touch someone inappropriately. These are all things that can happen, right? When you have an impulse control that's decreased. And then the judgment. And that's really the big thing. It can affect your judgment, where even though you know that you've had many drinks, I know he said he had one martini reportedly, but even for people who, and you've probably seen them at parties. I'm sure people, y'all in the chat, you've probably seen them. Even if you've had more than one drink, 2 drinks, 3 drinks, 4 drinks, your judgment is off. And you may tell yourself, I'm fine, I can drive. And you really believe you can. Why? Because the alcohol can affect your judgment. Okay. Do we have anyone? So that's mainly how it affects the brain. And then, the big thing, blackouts. Okay. When people pass out, blackouts. Here's what happens with blackouts. Your body loses the ability, due to the alcohol blocks your body's ability to transfer memories from short-term to long-term. Okay. The alcohol blocks your body's ability to transfer the memories from the short-term to the long-term area of the brain. That's called the hippocampus. So you forget. Okay. You wake up that next morning, you're like, oh man, I was so drunk, I don't know what happened. Well, that's damage. Okay. So these are ways that alcohol affects the brain. Here's what's really, really important. And again, while I know everyone can make mistakes, driving while intoxicated is one of those things that absolutely can be fatal. And remember, I mentioned that the legal alcohol limit is 0.08. Well, guess what? People who drive with a above the legal limit, 0.08, are 11 times more likely to be in a fatal single person motor vehicle accident crash than people who are not drinking. Okay. So if you're above the legal limit, 0.08 or higher, you're 11 times more likely to have a fatal crash than if you're not drinking. Okay. And the other thing is that binge drinking in general accounts for 40% of the alcohol related deaths. So in this situation, it really is a matter of life or death. And so I do believe that, and I know that DWIs, I know folks who've had DWIs, it happens to really nice people, really good people, but you need to really please put safeguards in place. And especially people who are celebrities and have access, you can have a driver. Certainly, if the common folks, we can have Lyfts and we can have Ubers. If you are a person with access, there's really no reason not to plan. And so I hope this is just a reminder that it can happen to anyone. So we have to really put our judgment in place, because it can be life or death. And thank God no one died in his situation, but certainly running a red light, swerving the lanes, being so intoxicated that you failed the sobriety test, that could have been life or death. Okay. Yes. All right. Anyone in the chat mention any other ways that alcohol can affect the body? We talked about the brain. Let's talk about the other parts of the body it can affect.
Of course, a popular one, and it's the person ringing is Miss Marsha.
Hi, Miss Marsha.
It's the liver.
All right, let's talk about the liver. And as y'all come on in, please make sure you hit that like button and then go where it says share. Okay, you said a little share button over there. Please share and text it to some friends, do a copy link, send it, share it, because we're really about to get into something, because alcohol is everywhere. It's really just omnipresent, right? It's at weddings, it's at parties. It's something that's very much socially acceptable. Okay. And I'm not sitting here demonizing it, but it's just important for us to drink responsibly. So not only because of how it affects the brain, you definitely don't want to get behind a car, but just in general, it has long-term effects on the health. So Ms. Marsha, you said the liver, absolutely. There are a few ways it can affect the liver, because we know that our liver is how we process the alcohol. So one, it can cause a hepatitis, or you can get an alcoholic hepatitis where you get an inflammation of the liver. It can also cause a fatty liver disease. Okay, we have different fat deposits in the liver. If you're a person who's living with obesity, that can also put you at risk for a fatty liver, but the alcohol can as well. It can cause a fibrosis of the liver, a lot of scarring, and it can cause a cirrhosis of the liver. So absolutely, alcohol can affect the liver. And if you get liver failure, if your liver just completely stops working, well, that's a problem. That's a problem because you can get all kinds of symptoms. You can have ascites, what we used to call like a beer belly. You can have problems with bleeding where you just don't clot off. You can get esophageal varices, meaning it's like varicose veins in the tube between your mouth and your stomach where you can vomit up blood and be unalived by that. And you can certainly get encephalopathy, okay, when you get this cirrhosis and this liver failure. So there's all kinds of issues. So liver, that's very good, very important. Yes, alcohol can affect the liver. Yeah, in addition to just the brain. Anyone else? Any other organs?
Yeah, so PM hits all of the organs, kidneys, bladder, heart, and liver, of course.
Now, how are you going to do the multiple choice, all the above? All right. Let's see. Let me see which ones he says. Now, what does he have? He said kidneys.
Kidneys, bladder, heart.
Okay, it can have an indirect effect on the kidneys, really, because interestingly, alcohol can cause you, it can almost be like a diuretic. Okay, so you have something called an anti-diuretic hormone, and alcohol can affect this in such a way where you're urinating a lot. Do you ever notice that when people are drinking a lot, or even if you're having your cocktails, oh, you got to get up and keep using the restroom. Well, that's because your ADH is affected, the anti-diuretic hormone. And in effect, if you're drinking a lot of alcohol, especially if you're really kind of having a binge drinking, then you can become dehydrated, right? And if you become dehydrated, then that can cause a pre-renal azotemia. So yes, they can have an effect on the kidneys. All right. And then what are the other organs?
Bladder.
Okay. What other organ?
And heart.
Heart, absolutely. Alcohol can cause a cardiomyopathy. It actually causes the dilated cardiomyopathy, where the heart is not pumping or beating effectively, and it gives you those congestive heart failure symptoms. So you can get swelling in the legs, feet, the body. You can need a backup of fluid in the lungs, and you can even get arrhythmias, okay, abnormal heart rhythms, dilated cardiomyopathy, all due to alcohol. All right. Anyone else?
Yeah, Benny. So Benny
Hi,
mentioned the
Benny.
liver and kidneys, but also blood pressure.
Yes, that's right. If you're drinking an excessive amount of alcohol, then that can put you at high risk for hypertension. So good. So let's talk about what is an excessive amount of alcohol. So according to the CDC, and really, if you look at any reputable society, there's no actual amount of alcohol that is labeled as safe. Okay, but what is labeled is what is considered not to be alcohol overuse. Okay, so if you indulge in alcohol, there are very specific recommendations on what you should not have any more than. For example, according to the CDC, women should not have more than 1 drink a day. Men should not have more than 2 drinks a day. Yes, it's done based on gender. They don't mention anything about non-binary or anyone who is trans. That's just that these. I'm giving you the numbers. You can look it up and see what the CDC has to say. So that's what we'll go by, just to keep it evidence-based. Make sure you like and share. Everything I give you is going to be evidence-based. If it's my opinion, I'll let you know because I have opinions also. Okay, so 1 drink a day for women, 2 drinks a day per men. And again, that's not a recommendation that you should drink that. If you don't drink, don't start drinking. But these are just some general guidelines not to go over. And it's considered to be heavy drinking if women drink 8 drinks or more in a week, men drink 15 drinks or more in a week. That's the numbers given by the CDC. I know that may sound like a whole lot to some of you. It may not sound like that much to you. If it doesn't sound like that much, please cut back to at least that amount. So then we're left with what is a drink. Okay, because this always trips me out when I talk to my patients and I'm like, hey, you know, Mr. Brown, how much alcohol do you drink? Oh, I just have 1 drink a day. I'm like, oh, okay. What do you consider a drink? And they might, point to a 20-ounce glass full of dark liquor, full of doggone Hennessy, cognac, whiskey, all that kind of stuff. That's not a drink. The definitions of the drink, very specific. So for wine, 5 ounces is considered a drink. For beer, 12 ounces is considered a drink. And for something that's stronger, like an 80 proof liquor, 1.5 ounces is considered a drink. Okay. And it's considered binge drinking if, for women, you drink 4 or more drinks in one setting. So if you're at a party or, there for a couple hours, you get those 4 drinks in that one setting. For men, 5 drinks or more. Okay. And again, the way that the definitions run in the CDC, they are gender-based, but I'm just giving you the evidence that we have as presented. So that is that on that. Anyone else?
No, I think we've hit them all, Dr. Frita.
All right. So certainly, we wish Justin Timberlake the best. I don't think he's a bad guy. Okay. I'm not sitting up here like, oh, let's cancel Justin Timberlake. No, I think he's human. I thank God that everyone left this situation with their lives. But for all of us, let's make sure that when we do drink, if we do drink, we drink responsibly. Because again, alcohol level 0.08 or higher, you're 11 times more likely to have a fatal crash than if you're not drinking. All right. So that's just one headline. But now, as we move on, I want to slip into another headline because guess what? I was involved in the headlines. No, it wasn't for any drinking or driving, but it's about DIY. Y'all like do it yourself? Well, let's see. Let's play the clip, Shador.
I think these tests can actually make medical care more accessible for a lot of Americans. Maybe they won't even need the tests.
Well, the test can certainly make medical care accessible, but the test cannot be done in a vacuum. These are meant to be in conjunction with a medical doctor's advice, because what happens is if people are doing it themselves at home, they may be actually ordering, in some cases, unnecessary tests, which can lead to more follow-up tests, which can actually make medical care more expensive. And so, they still need to. All right. So I got a chance last week to be on News Nation. That's a national news show. And we were talking about DIY, do-it-yourself home medical tests, and how that's a $5 billion industry. I actually posted that full clip. You can see that on my Instagram. If you go to my Instagram at dr.frita, you'll get a chance to see the whole clip. And I talk about the pros and the cons of the do-it-yourself home medical test. Yes, they can be helpful in certain things. You can test yourself for HIV at home. You can test yourself for other infections at home as well. We all know when the big lockdown came about, we did a lot of those home tests. You can test your blood sugar at home, but there are pros and cons to it. You can screen for certain cancers, but you definitely want to do it in conjunction with your doctor. But definitely check it out. I posted it today on my Instagram at dr.frita. All right. So y'all come on in here. Y'all make sure y'all like and y'all share this video. And now let's talk about one of my favorite gymnasts, Simone Biles. Okay. We know that she had to pull out of the Tokyo Olympics because she had the twisties, right? Where she was up there doing all of those intricate twists that the Olympians do. And she didn't know which way was up. She didn't know which way was down. She's been very open about depression that she's dealt with, anxiety. We know that she's had a lot of trauma. Okay. She's even had trauma that she shared in living with her biological mother. We know that she's adopted, and she had the trauma of being one of the victims of that Larry Nassar, that doctor who assaulted the young ladies. A lot of trauma, a lot of mental health issues. Well, guess what? She's back and she's better than ever. All right, let's play the clip on Simone Biles and then we'll talk about her mental health.
I've always had really good intuition about things. And unfortunately, I felt that way about the Olympics.
Simone is a once-in-a-lifetime athlete. She's not just dominant, she is pushing herself.
Now, the greatest ever, Simone Biles.
Wow. Never in my life have I seen her do that. Never.
So, having these mental blocks in the gym recently.
Simone Biles is out of the competition tonight.
People love to watch the come up.
I'm smiling.
As soon as you win, God, I hate her. But everything that happened, it's a trauma response. I wanted to quit like 500,000 times, and I would have if it weren't for my people.
We want to make sure that she's in a great place.
She's the greatest in the world, but she's also human.
She
she bounced back and she really opened my eyes.
I knew it would be a long journey, but to me, it wasn't done.
Sometimes you have to take that power back.
It's not all about gym. Like, life moves on.
The Vogue cover gonna be like right there. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna blow my baby up.
She came back to the gym and basically stay in shape.
I'm going for another Olympic run. I know that she's expected to win all the gold medals, but even the fact she's trying to come back is really amazing.
I never thought I'd be at this phase still doing it, and I feel very grateful. I get to write my own ending.
I love it. I love it. People, I mean, they're with you when you're winning. And then when you're having trouble, sometimes they will put you all the way down to the ground. You know, she talks about one of these tweets where they called her the greatest quitter of all time. You know, as many Olympic medals as she's won, how she's brought so much pride to the USA, how she's dealt with trauma, and still she showed up. As soon as she had her mental health setback, you know, a lot of people were not for her. Put a 3 in the chat if you're rooting for Gabby. I'm sorry, y'all, that's another one I love, Gabby Douglas. Put a 3 in the chat if you're rooting for Simone Biles as she gets ready for these Paris Olympics. Put a 3 if you're rooting for her. So we're going to talk about some of the mental health that she's going to address as I give a little bit of background on Simone Biles. But as I do give the background in the chat, I want you all to give me warning signs and symptoms of depression. Okay, because I know, you know, Shador, you know, everybody in the chat, our med heads, y'all tend to be real bright. So I'm going to start kind of pushing y'all a little bit more and a little bit more in the questions that I ask you. Give me some warning signs and symptoms of depression as I give you a little background on Simone Biles. So, you know, we know she's a great Olympian. She's someone who was adopted. And she shares that there were times that she went to bed hungry when she was with her biological mother. No shade to her biological mother. I don't know what her circumstance was. However, regardless of the reason, of course, that caused trauma for Simone Biles. And then as she went through the Olympics, you heard her just say in the clip, there were 500,000 times that she wanted to quit, but there's so much pressure, right, for a young lady not to let her teammates down, her coaches down, right, her entire team down, not to let them down. So she kept going, she kept going, she kept pushing, she kept pushing. And we even learned that she was one of the victims of Larry Nassar, that doctor, osteopathic medicine doctor. And not only did he victimize her with SA, okay, with assault, he victimized other young girls as well who came forward. And, you know, and they reported it to the FBI in 2015, I believe, and it took months. I know one person reported that it took 14 months even for them to investigate. They were failed by system after system after system while their abuser was still allowed to be around them, okay? It's like, and he actually was convicted, and there were over 150 young girls who accused him, okay? Ultimately, he was found guilty. He was convicted. He was imprisoned. And somebody stabbed him. They stabbed him while he was in prison. At any rate, she's lived with all of that trauma. On top of it, she had those twisties. And so she had to pull out in Tokyo. And then as much as everybody was for her while she was winning, they talked about her like a junkyard dog when she pulled out, like they didn't even care about that child's mental health. But now she's talked about the depression and the different symptoms she's had. She said, I'll see what symptoms you say. I'll see if you hit on any of the symptoms that she says that she has. So let's talk about some of the warning signs and symptoms of depression. But first, I want to know which ones y'all have. And make sure, please, that y'all come into this chat, you like this video, you share this video, let YouTube know that we're here and we're giving helpful evidence-based medical information. Like and share, and go ahead and subscribe to our channel too. Here on the Dr. Frita YouTube channel, we have over 730,000 subscribers. I'm very proud of that, very appreciative of all of you who come in and support us. We work really hard to give you evidence-based medicine here on this live and on the hundreds of videos we have. So make sure you check these out. And as we get into talking about Simone Biles, one thing in talking about the alcohol, I do have a video right here on this YouTube channel, and it's the dangers of alcohol, how alcohol affects your body. And so I go into pretty heavy detail. So make sure you check that video out here on this channel after you finish watching this live. All right. Warning signs and symptoms of depression. Anyone weigh in?
Yes, yes, and yes.
I love y'all. Yeah. What do we have? Let's see what we got.
So a lot of people are going with 3. They feel like Simone did the right thing.
All right. I'm a 3 all day long. I support her. You know, we don't just get to use her while she's on top, you know, and then throw her away, calling her the greatest quitter of all time. I pray that she comes and for herself, that she just does her very best. If she wins medals, great. If she doesn't win medals, guess what? I don't care. I just want her to come, stand, and I'm just really proud of her. All right. So one time for 3s. Who let's call out some names. Who are the 3s?
Yeah, so TD Will.
All right, TD Will. I'm with you.
Am I lying though?
Oh, you're not lying though if you support Simone Biles. All right, you're not lying though.
And TS are the first few to kind of chime in.
Okay, that's good. Very good, very good. I support her also. You're not lying though. Okay, this is off topic. Real quick. I don't know. Have y'all seen that Instagram video going around? It's on YouTube also, of a girl who gets in the car. She's complaining to her mom. It's a little girl, like elementary school. And she said that she's going to jump on this little girl at school. If she's like, Mama, if she talks about you one more time, I'm going to jump on her. She said, you got a big back. She not lying though. But if she says it again, anyway, I'm not lying though. All right. All right. Now, does anyone comment on what they think the signs and symptoms of depression might be? The warning signs and symptoms.
Yes, a popular one. TD will go with your answer.
Okay. Hi, TD.
Seclusion from family and friends.
Seclusion from family and friends. Okay, yes, that can definitely be a warning sign. If you're someone, especially if you're someone who's normally social, you like to be out, talking, partying, whatever, socializing. If you isolate yourself, that could be a warning. Yeah, that you could be depressed. Who else do we have?
Randy. Hi, Randy.
Hi, Mr. Randy.
He says anxiety.
Anxiety. So anxiety, you can have anxiety and you can have depression. So anxiety, you know, is when you have this worry, almost this constant worry, even if it's not founded in something that's realistic or likely. And it's almost like that worry continues, it plays in your mind, and it affects how you live. So anxiety and depression often go hand in hand. Who else do we have? Some warning signs and symptoms of depression.
Yeah, so TS.
Hi, TS.
Are able to do activities of daily living as before.
Very good. So that's one of them. In fact, energy is one of the categories that's listed in the DSM-5. Okay, where we have our official definition of major depressive disorder. If you have low energy, where you just pretty much aren't even able. I mean, your body is physically strong enough, but it's like one of the symptoms of depression is you have such low energy that you might stop bathing, brushing your teeth. You can't get out of bed. Okay. Physically, there's nothing wrong with you as far as your motor skills, but mentally you're so low that your energy is low. And yes, that definitely could be a symptom. So let's talk about the actual definition, and then we'll get into some more of these warning signs and symptoms. So when we talk about depression, specifically major depressive disorder, that's different from just feeling a little bit sad, you know, or having the blues for, you know, a quick minute. You see something sad on the news, you're kind of sad with that. Or, you know, you find out that a loved one is no longer alive and you feel sad, you know, for a day or two, or, you know, with the situational issue with the reason. Major depressive disorder is different. It's when you have a very specific list of symptoms. In fact, there are 5 categories that are listed out with the DSM-5, where you have this very, very low mood, a sad mood with some other things that we're going to continue to talk about, and you're unable to come out of it. So you're feeling it most days, every day for at least 2 weeks. Okay. So it's pretty specific. 2 weeks, you're feeling this heaviness, this sadness, this low mood, this low energy. And so some of the symptoms we've already hit on. Are there any more? And I'll hit on the rest.
Yes. So Benny, she hit on a few that we mentioned already. You just said sleeping a lot, isolation, irritability, and eating disorders.
Very good. Okay. So one of the ones that's official is eating. Okay. And that could be eating a lot. Okay. If you're sitting there kind of binge eating or just eating much more than you normally eat, or not eating very much at all, very little. So it all depends on what your pattern is. If you're someone who normally is a pretty big eater, healthy eater, and you just have no desire to eat, then that could be one of the signs that you are going through a depression. You would need to match it with some of the other ones as well. Or so either not eating at all, or just eating your feelings, eating a lot, eating excessively outside of your norm. So that's good. And then sleep disturbance, you hit that one as well. And again, it could be where you're just sleeping all the time. You don't want to get out of bed. Okay. Or you're up. Okay. You have insomnia. It could be either way, but a sleep disturbance. And that's one of the ones that Simone Biles talked about, Shador, where she just slept all the time. And she's even shared she felt like sleeping was better than unaliving herself. She's gotten real deep with what she shared. So she said she just slept all the time. Okay. So eating is one of the categories. Sleeping, we talked about the energy already. Okay. Just pretty much not even have the energy to do your activities of daily living. Okay. What else is here? Did we touch on what else she has?
Oh, we touched on sleeping a lot, isolation, irritability, sleeping disorder. So yes.
Very good. And some other things, anhedonia, just inability to feel pleasure. So if you're someone who, loves going to basketball games, they don't make you happy. You don't want to watch them. If you're someone who's like a little shopaholic, you like going and getting all the deals, either being on Amazon or being down to Perimeter Mall, Lenox, wherever, you don't want to shop. Can't bring you joy. Okay. If you're someone who loves animals, okay, you're a big puppy person, even the cutest puppy in the world can't bring you joy. That's anhedonia. Okay. Any other ones? Warning signs and symptoms?
Yes. Oh, this is I guess a couple of people put this one out, but 13 Bry, welcome. Never commented before, so we'll read.
Who is this?
13 Joy Bry.
Hi, Joy Bry. 13 is a part of the name?
Yes. 13.
13 Joy Bry. Hello. Welcome.
So suicidal attempts.
Absolutely. If you're feeling so low that you want to unalive yourself, that definitely could be a sign of major depressive disorder. So make sure that if ever you have a feeling that you want to unalive yourself, or if you know of someone, a loved one, you either call or text 988. Okay. That's the lifeline, 988, and reach out for help, and certainly talk to your doctor, to your psychiatrist, seek support in that manner. But yeah, so she definitely shared, Simone Biles did, that she's had the depression, and y'all have listed some of the really important signs and symptoms, but certainly seek professional help. It's not weakness at all. Okay. There's been a lot of stigma in the past, and a lot of cultural stigma, like in the Black community, where it's just like, you ain't depressed. That's just the devil. Just pray it away. I'm all for prayer. Pray and also seek professional help, because it's not just about being in a mood. It's a disorder. Okay. And there's largely chemical disorders, okay? Like your serotonin can be affected in people who are depressed. Certain risk factors, if you have a family history of someone who's depressed, that could increase your risk for depression. Certainly if you have bipolar disorder, that can increase your risk for being on that depressed side. That's a part of it. If you've had trauma, like Simone Biles, where you've had assault, SA, okay, where you've had someone who's taken advantage of you, or you've had childhood trauma, like in her case, where you've gone to bed hungry because in your original home, you didn't have enough food to eat. That's trauma. That can increase your risk. If you're someone who's dealing with substance abuse, that can increase your risk for depression. And even if you're someone who has a sexual orientation that's not considered to be the norm, we know that in the LGBTQ community, there are high rates of depression. Oh, it's still Pride Month. Okay, happy Pride Month. And certainly people who have gender, if you're gender non-conforming, there tends to be a higher risk of depression, all kinds of risk factors. So basically just take care of your mental health. There's no shame. It's okay not to be okay. And check out Simone Biles in this Netflix special. It should be coming out on July 17th.
Yeah. Dr. Frita, I like to read a good comment from Marsha, and I also have a follow-up question.
Hi, Marsha. Okay,
so
okay.
Marsha, her comment is, to be honest, sometimes there are no signs. The person could have functioning depression where they look like they have it all together on the outside, but behind closed doors, that person is in a dark space.
That's so true. And, and we see that. Do you remember, Marsha, that young lady who literally was an attorney, and she was a beauty queen, like literally on a major pageant circle, physically beautiful young lady. She did a lot of work. Like she was a journalist as well, an attorney, super bright. She seemed bubbly and happy. And she took her own life. Do you remember that? And she looked like she had absolutely nothing going on. That's why they say check on your strong friends. And a lot of people, especially a lot of women, like to carry this coat like everything's perfect, everything's fine. But check on your strong friends. And then also pay attention. Sometimes these signs can be there in a subtle fashion. But you're right. Sometimes there's no signs at all. And so that's a very important comment. And other people you look at, like Kate Spade, she took her own life. And then, and who was our guy who used to be a dancer? Was it Twitch? He used to be on the Ellen DeGeneres show.
Yeah.
I mean, he just looked like life. So you're right. Sometimes there are no signs. But what we will do is we'll take the evidence that we have and the knowledge that we have for those signs that do present themselves, and at least where we can catch them in our loved ones, try to point them out, help them to get help. And if you're listening to this, even if you're one of those people and everybody looks like you're so bubbly and you're so strong, if you know good and well you're experiencing some of these things that we just mentioned, then take care of yourself. Reach out to a friend, someone you trust. Talk to your doctor. If you're thinking about hurting yourself, or if you just need extra support, even if you're not to that point, but you're feeling down, call or text 988. That's such a great point. Sometimes there's no signs. Yeah. All right.
Great
As we
point,
move on.
Marsha.
Thank you, Marsha. Make sure y'all like. And then come on, let's take a little pause. Y'all do that. Give me that thumbs up. Give us this thumbs up here. Like and share. Let folks know we're here, because we got our live Q&A coming up, where I'm going to be answering questions right here spontaneously. You can ask about any of the topics that we talked about. And I'm a board certified kidney and high blood pressure specialist. So you can always ask me about kidneys and high blood pressure. All right. Let's see. All right. So as we move on to our next topic, Celine Dion, if you're someone who has a question, okay, and you feel like your question is like a little deep or a little detailed, and you really want to talk to me one-on-one, I do offer a concierge service, okay, where it's a telehealth concierge service where you can schedule time with me, where I go over your history in detail. And so I can really personalize my answer to you, as opposed to just a quick answer on this live. So make sure you click the link in the description if you want to schedule that. I've been having very good success with the concierge appointments. Even if you have a doctor already, you just want to run something by me for a second opinion. In addition to being a board certified nephrologist, I've also been board certified in internal medicine, pediatrics, from when I did my dual residency at Georgetown. I'm board certified in obesity medicine from the American Board of Obesity Medicine. And so I like to talk about a lot, and would love to have a one-on-one talk with you. All right. So let's talk about Celine Dion. That lady has some lungs on her, but she had to stop her Las Vegas residency, right? And then she had to cancel her world tour. And she shared with us that she has something called stiff person's disease. Okay. That's something that's not very common. And probably a lot of people hadn't heard of it. Put a 4 in the chat if you had ever heard of stiff person's disease before Celine Dion. Put a 5 if she's the first person to bring stiff person's disease alive to you. If you have 4, if you already had heard of it. 5 if you had not heard of it until Celine Dion. Okay, meanwhile, let's go ahead and watch this clip and talk about stiff person's disease.
Celine Dion on stage overnight. The singer gave an emotional speech at the New York premiere of her documentary. Deb Roberts is here with the latest on Dion's night and her condition. This was quite a moment, Deb.
Quite a moment, quite a triumph, Whit. Celine is no stranger to life challenges. We've all watched her over the years, and usually she follows everything up with determination and triumph. Well, her strength was on full display in New York for the opening of her new film, an emotional return for her to the spotlight.
Moi aussi. I love you too. Overnight, Celine Dion taking to the stage at the New York premiere of her new documentary, I Am Celine Dion. This is by far the biggest crowd I've had in a few years. Missed that. The superstar at times overcome with emotion, speaking to the audience before the film, thanking her family and fans for their support. Your presence in my journey has been a gift beyond measure. Your never-ending love and support over all these years have delivered me to this moment tonight. The movie giving viewers a glimpse inside the singer's new reality after being diagnosed and living with the neurological disorder stiff person syndrome. I'm working hard every day, but I have to admit, it's been a struggle. I miss it so much. The people. I miss them. At 56, Dion announcing her diagnosis in 2022,
1 year after canceling her return to the Vegas stage and later canceling her world tour.
It's not hard to do a show, you know. It's hard to cancel a show.
A mom of 3, Dion opens up about the physical struggles she's dealt with in the wake of the diagnosis and the importance of taking it one day at a time.
If I can't run, I'll walk. If I can't walk, I'll crawl. I won't stop.
All right. It's just so sad. You know, she's someone, by all accounts, it sounds like she's a very pleasant person. We know she's extremely talented, Celine Dion. She's the mother of 3. She's gone through some things, some tragedy in her life, and just really has that gift, that voice. And for her to have the stiff person syndrome. All right. I want to know, do we have any 4s for people who had already heard of it before Celine Dion, and any 5s for people who had never heard of stiff person syndrome until Celine Dion? Did anyone share?
Yeah, so a couple of 4s. PM, we watch PM, Dr. Frita.
Hi, PM.
4.
Okay, so you had already heard of it. Okay, you among the few. All right.
And TS as well also plays the
You had
4.
heard of it before. Okay, it's super rare. All right, and most
Then
people
our 5s, mostly 5s.
mostly 5s. Yeah.
Hello,
So which is why I'm happy. I'm of course I'm very unhappy that she has it, but I am happy that she's bringing it to light. That's the only silver lining when celebrities have to live with struggles. It brings to light so that other people who are living with stiff person syndrome, now there's more information about it, and maybe it'll even open up more research, you know, for stiff person syndrome. So we'll talk about stiff person syndrome briefly, and then we'll get into our live Q&A. And go ahead and get your questions together. And you know what? We'll give it a go. If anyone actually wants to come up, let us know. Put an orange heart emoji by your question if you want to try to come up on stage, and we can see if we can get that going. Other than that, we'll try to get to just, you know, a few of the questions before we close out this room. But real quickly, stiff person syndrome is a progressive neurological disorder where the person, in this case, Celine Dion, literally gets a stiffness, a rigidity of the torso, of the trunk, of the arms, of the legs. And the stiffness can come on suddenly, okay, can come on spontaneously. It's oftentimes triggered by loud sounds, by touch. And so a lot of people with stiff person syndrome they don't even want to really go outside because, like, say they hear a loud siren going by, or they hear a child scream, or they hear, you know, fireworks. It could trigger it where all of a sudden their body stiffens up and they get a lot of falls, okay? Because what happens if you're a person with stiff person syndrome, you tighten up, you don't have those same reflexes to catch yourself because your body is so stiff and so rigid, okay? Many people with stiff person syndrome can actually become wheelchair bound. And we've seen Celine Dion in different clips that she's shared with the world, where in some cases she has been in a wheelchair, unable to walk. And in her case as a singer, it's actually affected her voice, her gift, okay? And so it's really something, it's considered to be an autoimmune disorder. And we've talked about autoimmune disorders here. So with an autoimmune disorder, you know, regularly your immune system is supposed to fight, you know, antibodies are supposed to fight the bacteria, the germs, the viruses. But autoimmune is when your antibodies or your immune system fights oneself. Just like an autobiography is a book that's written about oneself. And so in this case, something has gone awry with her immune system where it's affecting the brain and the spinal cord. Okay. And, you know, there's other autoimmune diseases that they say can be like, it can create some type of a risk for it, like multiple sclerosis, diabetes mellitus type 1, vitiligo. Okay. You know, that's when the antibodies attack your skin and give you these white patches. You've seen people with vitiligo where they can have a lot of like white spots, or even all of their skin on their face can be white, things of that nature. Pernicious anemia. And we do have some treatments, okay, like some muscle relaxants, medicines like diazepam, gabapentin, baclofen, and even something called IVIG, intravenous immunoglobulin, where these are infusions that patients go through. At any rate, please make sure you check out, you know, Celine Dion's documentary, which will go into detail. But of course, here on our Dr. Frita YouTube channel, we like to provide information. So for those of you who didn't know about stiff person syndrome, please, you can look it up for more. Let me know, you know what, put a 6 if y'all want me to do a video on it. I've done a short in the past on it, like a reel on my Instagram. You can go check that out. But if you want to do like a full video on stiff person syndrome, put a 6 here in the chat or put it in the comments. Yeah. All right. So now as we move on to my favorite section, which is the live Q&A, I want y'all please, as you come in here, make sure you hit that like button, like it, share it. And if you have any questions about any of these headlines we've talked about today, be it Simone Biles, depression, how alcohol affects the body, stiff person syndrome, or of course, anything kidneys and high blood pressure, then go ahead. We'll answer just a few questions before we close out the room. All right. Do we have any questions?
Yes, we do. You got quite a few sixes. They are interested.
Oh, they want to hear more about stiff person syndrome?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So I'll make sure I do a follow-up on that, either a short or maybe even a video on it where I'll give some information. And I'll probably hit on the frequency of it also and just really some of the risk factors. Yeah. All right. Good deal. Good deal.
So in relation to the stiff person syndrome, we do have a couple of questions.
Okay.
This is from Benny. Is it related to dystonia? dystonia, if I'm saying it properly.
Dystonia. So now we talk about some of the things that it's related to, but in all honesty, like with a lot of these syndromes, we don't actually have a definitive cause. We just have different things that are related. And we know that there are certain antibodies, GAD antibodies, that are high in the system when you are a person who has stiff person syndrome. And GAD antibodies are something, those can be high in diabetes, but when you have stiff person syndromes, they're 10 times as high. So they're very specific antibodies that are affecting the brain and the spinal cord. And so it can cause an issue with your tone as far as making you have an abnormal tone and be very stiff and very rigid. And that's really what we know about it.
All right. Thank you for your question, Benny.
Yeah, thank you, Benny.
From Ron. Hi, Ron.
Hi, Ron.
Also related to stiff person syndrome. Is it also a mental disorder?
No. And then when you say mental disorder, like, is it a mental health disorder?
How you said it affected her voice, so to speak. Could it also affect the brain?
So it affects the brain, it affects the spinal cord. But when one says mental disorder, I think about mental health disorder, as in depression, bipolar, schizophrenia, personality disorder, things of that nature. And it's not that situation. Now, can people who get stiff person syndrome develop a depression? Sure, they can, but it's not a mental health disease. It is physical. It's very specific as far as antibodies and the way that it affects the brain and the spinal cord are just that, as far as causing you to stiffen. But it's not like a psychosomatic disorder, although it's often confused with someone being a hypochondriac or having a psychosomatic disorder because it is so rare. A lot of times doctors will try to tell patients it's in their head, but it's not. It's not. And again, we have the GAD antibodies, a definitive way of making the diagnosis. It's also been confused with multiple sclerosis. Okay, but it's different. It can also be confused with Parkinson's disease. But yes, in the way that it affects the brain, not in the sense that it's a mental health disorder. It actually is a physical disorder, stiff person syndrome. Good question.
Very good question. And in relation to the rarity of the disease, PM asks, are there any precursors for getting this disease? And are there symptoms we can look for since the disease is so rare?
Well, the problem is, as you're getting the precursors, which in her case, if you have an issue with your voice, okay, and all of a sudden it's tightening up, or all of a sudden you're feeling a little stiff. A lot of times, if you don't know that you have it, with it being so rare, you might just think, oh, I'm a little stressed, or, oh, I slept wrong, or maybe I overworked, I exercised. So unfortunately, as the symptoms come, that's pretty much when you find out, and you can have your neurologist to test you for it. But if you're someone who has a family history of autoimmune diseases, like the ones that I mentioned, like the type 1 diabetes, the vitiligo, pernicious anemia, that could put you at an increased risk, but it's not one of those things that we recommend a screening, like, the way that we recommend hemoglobin A1C if you have diabetes, or the way that we recommend getting a BUN creatinine to screen for kidney disease. We don't at this point say, okay, go get checked out for the precursor to see if you have stiff person syndrome. It's just extremely rare, and we're not at that point as of yet.
All right. Thank you for your question, PM.
And thank you, PM.
All right. This comes from Am I Lying Though, regarding to
Am I lying though? Okay, here we go. I just love that name. That's too much.
It is. Depression. Can it lead to paranoia? I went through paranoia for 3 years, meaning depression.
Well, it's interesting. Paranoia, as you can imagine, a lot of the mental health disorders are on a spectrum. For example, a lot of patients who have bipolar disorder can also have obsessive compulsive disorder and can also have paranoia. And so when you have depression, that can also, you can also have paranoia, but paranoia in and of itself is not one of those 5 defining categories, like the energy, the sleep disturbance, inability to feel. It's not one of those very specific categories for the diagnosis of depression. But can you have depression and can you have paranoia? Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm sorry that you've had to go through it. And I really do hope that you've gotten professional help and that help is ongoing. Because if you've had depression in the past, then of course we know that it's something that, being in that low place can happen again. So I hope that you're doing the work. And I thank you for being so open and for sharing right here.
Thank you. This comes from L Cool J.
L Cool J, just one L? Or do we have LL Cool J?
L Cool with a K.
All right.
Hi, L Cool J. My cholesterol total, Dr. Frita, level is 245, but I don't want to take meds. My heart is healthy, but don't know anything about an artery test. What is an artery test?
Okay. How do you know your heart is healthy? If you do that follow-up question, I'll answer that. But let's talk about cholesterol. And I'll go over it briefly, but I do have a video here, how to on this channel, this Dr. Frita channel, YouTube channel. You're already here. So after the live, check it out, please. How to unclog your arteries naturally, where I talk about some natural remedies for decreasing cholesterol. But in some cases, it is recommended to take medications depending on your level. Now, if your total cholesterol is greater than 200, which yours is, then that is considered to be abnormal. But there are levels, which is why you definitely need to consult with your physician. What I give here is information. This is information. It does not replace the advice of your physician. If you have good cholesterol that's very high, meaning your HDL, then that can sometimes cause you to have a high total cholesterol, even if that cholesterol is normal for you. You will need to consult with your doctor to find out, because in most cases, we'd like the HDL to be higher than 38, okay? Now, if your LDL, which is a bad cholesterol, is high, that's a problem, and depending on your risk factors, we might want it less than 130 or even less than 100, the LDL, okay? LDL, we want to be low. HDL, it's good. We want it to be high. Also, the triglycerides, if those are high, that's no bueno, okay? It's not good. We want that to be less than 150 in most cases. Again, this can be individualized. Talk to your doctor. But your cholesterol, yes, it is high, but it's going to be the breakdown on which cholesterol that's high that will determine your risk factors. So then you talk about having a healthy heart. In order to know that you have a healthy heart, I'm really curious. You don't have to share, but there are definitive ways to know that you have a healthy heart. Sure, if you exercise and if you feel good and you move around, that could mean you have a healthy heart, or it could mean you have some heart disease that's sitting there that the cholesterol is warning you that you could have, that you might be ignoring. You don't want that. And you remember, what's his name? Kevin Samuels, that really polarizing character who used to, talk about, women, high value men and women and low value women and all of that. He was the picture of health, tall, slim, very neat. And then he passed away with reportedly hypertension and potentially heart disease. My point is, just because you look healthy and because you're exercising, that doesn't mean that you don't have a clot that's sitting in your heart artery that could be potentially about to clog it. So that takes me to the artery test. And again, consult with your doctor, consult with your heart doctor to see what they're asking about. But when they say an artery test, they might be talking about doing a heart catheterization. I don't know, consult with your doctor. But in a heart catheterization, that's where typically they put dye. The doctors will put dye either through a vessel in your groin or a vessel like in your wrist, in your arm. And that dye will light up the vessels in your heart arteries, and it will let us know if you have a narrowing of an artery. And sometimes you can have no symptoms, especially if you have high cholesterol, and you can have some blockage in the artery that just hasn't closed all the way up. And sometimes doing the artery test can give a warning, so the heart doctor can know if they need to go in and open it up with a stent. Bottom line, a few things I want you to do. Number one, consult with your doctor. Okay. And listen, please, to their reasons for wanting to do the test. Listen to the pros and the cons of taking medicine. What you don't want to do is completely ignore a doctor who's giving you good advice when really you just need to have a back and forth and ask questions. Yes, medicines can have side effects, but guess what? So can high cholesterol, so can clogged arteries. They can lead to heart attacks and you not being alive. Check out my videos on heart attack symptoms right here on this channel. Check out warning signs of a heart attack. Check out how to unclog arteries naturally. And most importantly, check out your doctor and sit down, write your questions down, and go over the pros and cons. Please be open-minded as you make your decision. I wish you the best. That cholesterol is definitely high and could put you at risk for clogged heart arteries.
All right, thank you. Dr. Frita, I have to ask this question because I'm dying to know myself, as I might be.
Oh no. What?
This comes from TS regarding blood
Hi,
pressure.
TS.
Pressure.
Okay.
While a nurse was taking my blood pressure, she mentioned that you may have white coat syndrome, which we've seen in the office, and your home BP is better. It can show a potential future problem with your heart. Is that true?
Wait a second.
So if if you have white coat syndrome in the office, 160 over 98, maybe home blood pressures are looking pretty good, maybe 122 over 73-ish, just on us numbers. Can it show a potential problem with your heart?
Okay. So by definition, with the white coat syndrome, TS, that would mean if it's truly just white coat syndrome, that would mean that your blood pressure is high only when you're in office settings, right? Because maybe you're nervous, you're having a little anxiety, you're worried about what the doctor's about to say, you've been fighting with the valet, but that would mean that at home, your blood pressures are normal, right? So if that is the case, and if it's truly, truly only high right in that tiny little space of time, then the chances of you having, long-term problems from hypertension are low. But if your blood pressure is spiking, not just in the doctor's office, but also when you're in the streets and having, road rage when someone fishtails you. If you're also having hypertension when you have to go into your child's school and the principal told you your child did something wrong and you think your child probably did it, but you got to go in there and act like the child didn't do it. So you have your child's back and you're going to get the child at home. If your pressure spikes then, if your blood pressure is spiking when you are looking at presidential debates like the one we're about to be watching this week, if you're having multiple times of day where your blood pressure is spiking, not just in that one finite time in the doctor's office every 3 months, then that can lead to a long-term problem. Here's the most important thing to do, TS. Take your blood pressure cuff that you have at home to your doctor's office, okay? And make sure that blood pressure cuff is in the right size. And I do have a video. I have a short right here on this YouTube channel, and I also have a reel on my Instagram on how to check your blood pressure properly. I have a whole video actually here on the YouTube channel. Check it out after you finish watching this video, this live. Make sure you know how to check your blood pressure at home properly. You have the right size. And I will be putting a link. I'll circle back and put a link here on a home blood pressure monitor I recommend. I'll put that link in this description. But make sure that your blood pressure that you're getting at home is comparable to your doctor's office blood pressure. If it is, then that means that very likely you can trust your blood pressure cuff. And so then do a blood pressure log, I recommend, where several times a day, you breathe in, breathe out, see what your blood pressure truly is when you're not in the doctor's office. If consistently you're getting good blood pressures, then probably you're pretty healthy when it comes to blood pressure. If that blood pressure is consistently less than 120 over 70 to have the norm, consult with your doctor, find out what's normal for you. But if you're finding even outside of the doctor's office, once you've made sure that your blood pressure cuff is calibrated, if you find that there are other times that it spikes at home, then you can have an issue, okay? But the short of it is, if it's truly just white coat hypertension, just in the office, then you're probably fine if the blood pressure is consistently fine when you're not in the office. That was a long wind.
That was a good answer. Good question. Never thought to ask that question before. So very good question. All right, let's get you out of here, Dr. Frita. A couple of comments. Am I lying? Right. Love your channel. Very informational. I made you a friend and would love to get it to you.
Wait, what's that?
I made you a flyer and would love to get it to you. So she does have IG.
Oh.
A flyer. They love your channel, so maybe they made a flyer about your channel where you.
Okay. All right. Was it? Give me a DM. You know what? Am I lying though? And also, another great way to contact me is just through my website, www.timberlake, dr.frita.com. So that's DRFRIT as in take care of yourself, a.com. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Love this one, Dr. Frita. This is a good comment.
Oh,
This
yeah,
is
yeah. Okay.
Thomas. I'm tuning in from Dublin, Ireland. I'm just
Oh, wow. Hi. We got Dublin, Ireland. Thank you for supporting.
Just letting you know that your show is getting viewed all over the world.
Oh, I appreciate that. And that is good. That is good. And you know what? I appreciate that. And one thing, as a token of appreciation, I like to give a good freebie. Make sure you click the link in this description for a free PDF download on 10 healthy habits for a better you and a better life, where we're talking about the hot health topics and the headlines, but this is just a way, even when the health headlines aren't hot, this is a consistent way for you to stay healthy. So make sure you download this free PDF on how to stay healthy. But thank you for watching from Dublin, Ireland. That's a pretty cool thing.
Yes,
what time is it in Dublin? Look, put that in there real quick. What time is it in Dublin, Ireland right now? All right. Very cool. That's nice, Shadora.
It is.
All right. All right. Well, I certainly thank y'all for watching. We will be back here, same bat time, same bat place on Medical Mondays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, please make sure before you get out of here, you like and you share. And for those of you who are in the replay, make sure you catch us live on next Monday. Please check out my Instagram at dr.frita. Again, I actually posted the full clip of when I was on the national news show this past week, News Nation, where I talk about the DIY, do-it-yourself home medical test. And hey, just kind of keep watching. You never know what I have popping up on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook. You know what I have going on here. Appreciate y'all, and I will see you next time.
All right, and it's 10 a.m. in Dublin, Dr. Frita.
Oh, good morning. Buenos dias. All right.
Good morning and good night.